Hi friends, welcome back to Arc Tutorials. This is Angular 17 full tutorial series for absolute beginners as well as expert developers joining from previous versions of Angular. There are a lot of breaking changes starting Angular 17, including say lazy loading module. How do you load a lazy loading module? Instead of module, now we are going to load a lazy loading route, which is a standalone component. These are some of the major changes so that you know the whole ecosystem now of Angular is driven for standalone components rather than module driven, and hence this particular episode where you're going to learn how to load a lazy load a route. Let's go ahead and start it. Before we start coding, like always, thank you so much for supporting me. Please do comment, like, share, subscribe. If you like my work, buymeacoffee.com/arctutorials. Finally, this is very important. I have relaunched arctutorials.com website. So in the new Arc Tutorials website, all you need to do is just enter your email address and join the mailing list. Once you do, you would receive free PDFs of interview question answer series, code, and much more, all for free. Do not pay any time for all of this. You'll get it for free. So go ahead and join the website. Alright, following is the playlist we have done so far, around 45 episodes. This is 46th where we have the lazy loading routes. Let's go ahead and start this coding. All this are covered, entire routing aspects that Angular provides I have covered as part of this series. If you are new here, make sure that you go through each so that you can learn and master Angular with me. Alright, so what are we doing today? We are going to lazy load routes. Okay, let's go ahead and do that. So for that I'm going to create a component which will be a standalone component, and I'm going to call it lazy loaded. Alright, so we got the component which is lazy loaded. You can go to your app and check that, and you can see lazy loaded. If you go to the TS, you can see its standalone is true and it has its own imports, template, and style. It's a standalone component. Now let's make this as a lazy loaded. Okay, so for that we need to do two things. Number one, create a route file, and then we are going to tell which route to load. That's all we need to do. So inside this component, what I'll do, I'll create one more route file, and I'm going to say lazy loaded dot route dot ts. Okay, so what this will do is it will create its own routes file. Okay, so here we can just say route.ts and enter, and in this we are going to create and export our particular app or route, basically whatever we want to set up. All right, let's rename it to routes. That's the standard one. Okay, so here first we'll import the routes routes routes. Okay, now then we are going to import Angular or whatever component that we have, which is lazy loaded component. So now we got the routes, we got the lazy loaded component. Let's just export this. Now you're going to say export const and say lazy loaded underscore routes is equal to, right? So all and we are going to say that this is of type routes and it's an array, and here the same thing that we did for um, app.routes, which is again give a path and say lazy loaded, and you can keep on adding all your whatever components and paths you want to keep adding in it. So see, I have a standalone component called lazy loaded. I created a routes file in it and I'm exporting this. Okay, so now take this, go to your app routes.ts, and here we are going to lazy load this. We are going to say path. Okay, and the way to do that is pretty simple. Just give the path that you want, say lazy loaded, and then here you're going to say load children. Till now, if you remember, we were importing a module. Okay, so no need to do that anymore. Instead we can write import, and here you're going to say slash lazy loaded component. Okay, dot routes. So I'm giving the routes now, and then you will write dot then like how you were writing for the module M, right? We would write like this, module dot. So here you are just going to pass the routes. That's all. And your lazy loaded standalone components lazy load route is ready. What is the important difference here? The difference here is earlier we were loading an entire module. So if you remember, instead of routes, we would pass a module, and here we'll say m dot module name. Okay, that's the difference. So that would be the major difference. So if I have to write this as an earlier Angular, I would be writing something like this, like dot module, and then here will be like lazy loading module. You'll see something like this in the earlier versions of Angular, because we were loading not losing loading lazy hold on. Okay, so in the earlier versions of Angular, we were lazy loading an entire module. Okay, but now with Angular 17 onwards, you can just load a standalone component, and I just showed you how to do that. Let's run this using ngserve, and I'm going to show you that path. Alrighty, now go to localhost 4200 and do slash lazy loaded. Okay, it's not showing anything. Let's see why. And lazy loaded. Okay, now we don't see that in the chunks. Okay, perfect. So now let's go ahead to the standalone component and see why it's not mapped, and we'll debug from there. So we got the lazy loaded. So let's call this lazy. Now here you can see that it's loaded because I see the component detail, and you should see that value loaded in under the chunks, but that's fine because you can see here lazy loaded works because this is lazily loaded. Okay, so that's how you can make it up, that this is a lazy loaded route and its path is to lazy, or if you just leave it empty also, you can get this like lazy loaded and you can still see it. So these are all the ways you can check, and you can see here as well main.ts in the code lazy loaded, and you can see that lazy loaded components is in the chunks, right? So basically this is a lazy loaded standalone component now. Pretty powerful, especially when you're building an app with standalone components. You will need this set kind of a setup. Okay, so this is an example of how you can load a particular standalone component as a lazy load into Angular applications. I hope it's clear. We will get all of this into together when we start stitching our application together. But for now, continue your learning. I'm covering every aspect of Angular that you need to learn and master. In the next episode, I'm going to cover redirect to rule. That is very helpful, especially when you're migrating legacy applications or building new ones. Thank you so much for joining in this episode. I'll see you in the next one. If you like my work and tutorials, consider buying me a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/rtutorials. Thank you so much.